Gavoor again, and we're talking about this marketing channels and supply chain presentation part 3. And now we're going to talk about Amazon. And it's not even an overview, it's not even close. Amazon is changing and morphing all the time in front of us, and they're what they call a disruptor. They disrupted the retail industry. They only have 4% of retail, which is huge because no player is really that big. I think Walmart has 6. And what happens is, given the amount of retail space that we've had in the U.S., if companies lose 4% of their business to Amazon, which is likely, the company could easily go out of business because their margins are so low in some areas and the companies were so tenuous, and we have just way too many retailers that everybody is vulnerable. So let's talk about Amazon a little bit. And in this presentation, this is the part that's always more in flux. And I just spent some time today updating this, and it's still a work in process. It'll change again by the time we get to, and I teach the actual class in the fall, but for these purposes of Professor Vollmer's classes, this should be fine. So the Amazon effect, it's an actual thing. And people have written articles, and not yet a book, but probably coming soon. The Amazon effect refers to the impact that's created by the online and e-commerce or digital marketplace on traditional brick and mortar business models. It's not all due to Amazon, but it's mostly due to Amazon. And it's due to a change in shopping patterns, customer expectations, and a very different competitive landscape like we talked about because of that disintermediation and the convenience. And remember, this was enabled by smartphones. So this is also from Investopedia. There was a couple articles I look at, and they had some key takeaways which summarize things. Amazon's reach has moved well beyond retail and into other industries, that it can disrupt using its lower price model and vast warehouse network. It has a tremendous advantage. Amazon Wardrobe, for example, was designed to remove any resistance shoppers had to buying clothes online. Business shipping was a natural fit. Ordered 20,000 vans last year and is directly competing with FedEx and UPS. They've actually divorced themselves from FedEx and phasing out the post office, which we'll talk a little bit about later. This means they're also vertically integrating. Who vertically integrates anymore? For 100 years, the thought in business was to vertically disintegrate. In other words, Ford Motor used to make every part of their car except the tires, and they bought that from Henry Ford's friend Harvey Firestone. They made the glass, they made the interior trim, they made the seats, they made the engines, they made the spark plugs, they made everything. Over the years, people have gotten, the company has disassociated themselves of all the parts and basically is just a designer of vehicles, probably makes the engine, probably stamps out some of the body parts, probably not all, and they've vertically disintegrated. They don't make everything themselves. Amazon is vertically integrating, which is going counterproductive to business thought in the past century, basically. In the other article, the takeaways was Amazon's overhead costs are much lower than other retailers because there's no storefronts. That disintermediation we've talked about. Although Amazon's costs are low, they've been accused of not paying their workers a living wage. Well, let's be honest. Not everyone can work for Amazon. They're kind of very demanding. I think it's a good place to work. I've never heard people that like it. People that hate it don't last long. And you either like it or hate it. There doesn't seem to be much in between. And so apparently Amazon does not pay a lot of taxes, not as much as one thinks, but then they're investing a lot of their profits into their business to expand, which is probably why they don't pay as much taxes as they should, because they're showing lower profits by plowing that by a high R&D expense. And if I'm treading on thin ice in cost accounting there, and tax accounting. So here's some other graphics that explain the size. It was like 20 plus eye-opening Amazon stats and facts. They're 230 billion in sales, and I've seen a variety of different numbers hovering around this point. $4,722 every second. That's what Amazon makes. I'm assuming it's revenue. 283,000 Amazon makes every minute. That's how much they make. And $17 million an hour. Amazon sold 175 million items during Prime Day in 2019. This eclipsed Black Friday and Cyber Monday for them. I bought an espresso machine for my office at North Park, which maybe someday I'll get back and be able to use it. 206 million people visit Amazon every month. Amazon sells over 12 million products online. Amazon Prime is a subscription that members rank free shipping as the number one perk. I'm an Amazon Prime member. I'm an Amazon Video member. I've been using it more. I have Netflix and all that, and all of a sudden I find myself using Amazon Prime because they have a better offering. They have 26 million subscribers. There's 380 million people in the United States. If you divide that by 3, it's 100 million households. So a quarter of the households, and I just assumed the average household size of 3, Amazon has a quarter of that. It's crazy. E-commerce penetration. Here's online and in-store sales. So the total retail sales have grown, but it's grown mostly because e-commerce has grown. And e-commerce is now 16% of retail. Now notice this does not include gasoline, automobile dealers, and restaurants and bars. If you include that, I think it's down to like 10% or something like that. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. But e-commerce is not a huge part of the marketplace. I read someplace last year that before Christmas, and again, according to these figures for 2019, my figures were wrong, but Amazon was like, e-commerce was about 10% of all sales, and it jumped up to 13% at Christmas. And I would imagine with this COVID-19 and everybody staying home and ordering more and more online, especially groceries, I would imagine that number to bump up to 20 probably soon. Amazon stock versus Walmart, the S&P 500, and the Dow. Well, all stocks have different prices. So how do you compare them? They're looking year-to-year percent growth by quarter. And here along the bottom is these lines. These lines are the S&P 500, Walmart, and the Dow Jones average. And look at starting in the year 2000, how Amazon has just grown exponentially in percent growth. It's crazy. And why do I keep saying that? It wasn't until about mid-2000s when it started to take off. That's when the iPhone came out and smartphones became a fixture within either in our hands or within easy reach at almost any time. So whenever we have the whim to buy something, we can pick it up and order something on Amazon, and their sales are going insane. If we look at U.S. e-commerce versus total retail sales, here's the numbers: 3.5 billion or trillion in sales, and e-commerce is 461 billion, of which 280 is Amazon. That was 2017. 2018, 3.6 trillion, 3.76 trillion in total retail sales. And again, it's excluding the same things: restaurants, bars, automobiles, dealers, etc. And e-commerce has grown from 461 to 602. If we have a table that summarizes that, the growth it started as 13.2% and has grown to 16%, as we said. So the percentage point increase is 1.2 percentage points, 1.5 percentage points. It's not 1.2% and 1.5%, but it's points. And the year-to-year growth in a volume is from 2017 to 2018 was 63 billion and 78 billion in 2018, and the percent growth has been 13.7%, 14.9% from 2018 to 2019, and I can't even imagine what it's going to be this year with everybody moving everything online. If you look at their commercial empire, the e-commerce empire, this is all e-commerce sales in a pie chart. And if you look at it, Amazon has 49.1% of those sales. eBay is next with, I think, 8%. Apple comes after that with 3.9%. Then Walmart with 3.7%. And Walmart's grown a lot. Then you have Home Depot and a mess of other things, QVC, Macy's, and then you have a lot of small players. Clearly, the big boy, the 800-pound gorilla in this market space is Amazon. Here's another graphic of it, 2016, 17, and 18, just to see how Amazon has grown. eBay looks like it slipped a little bit. Walmart has grown a little. Apple has grown some as well. But it's the Amazon effect, basically. Retailers aren't giving up. The Target, Walmart, Nordstrom, they don't want to go out of business. They got caught a little bit flat-footed and blitzed by this disintermediation, and Amazon has a tremendous head start on them. But they're not lying down and taking it, and the stocks have returned. They really went down from 2015 to 2016 and 17, but they're trying to turn it around and become more relevant and improve their e-commerce. I don't know what this COVID crisis will do for that brick and mortar parts of the business. Amazon's not their DCs. It's not that palletized movement. You can watch how the robots work. It's pretty interesting, and it's actually an old video. And nothing with Amazon stays the same for very long. This is an old graphic, but I still include it. In 2015, Amazon shipped more than 1 billion packages, 7 times as many as the closest rival, Walmart. And it spent $11.54 billion globally on shipping costs. I think it's grown. Barclays estimates that Amazon spends $4 to $5 on average per package, compared with the average 7 to 8 for ground delivery paid by an average business. When you have that kind of buying volume, you get the big discounts. It's why when your grandmother, mother, or aunt sends you cookies to North Park, it's almost the shipping costs more than it costs them to make the cookies or buy the cookies. That's why people use Prime. It's easier to buy on Amazon and have it shipped for free. So when individuals ship things through UPS or the post office or FedEx, you pay an arm and a leg. This is also an old slide. They doubled the amount of space it owned in 2017, and may have done it since then. I've looked for facts and data about this and was not able to find it. So their physical footprint, which includes office space, data centers, and warehouse, increased 42% in 2017 to 254 million square feet. They've been investing in warehouse expansion. They buy up old malls in cities like Cleveland that have gone out of business and closed, and they blow them up and build an urban warehouse so they can do their last mile shipment that they're ahead of everybody else on. If you look at their logistics costs, they've grown also exponentially through 2019. And you have shipping costs and fulfillment costs. And you can see the shipping costs, I think they've gone up almost, looks like, in mirror images of each other. Remember, costs are optimized generally when the shipping costs and the warehouse costs equal each other. It's a rule of thumb in logistics. So Amazon, nobody's better at it than Amazon. They have 21 million square meters of logistics space. That's like square yards. That's so multiply that by like 9 for square feet. The United States, they have 466 given what they have and what they plan, and then it drops off real quick to all the other countries. So Amazon is heavily a US based company. Now I want to show this because like ebooks, there will be an equilibrium of brick and mortar stores and e-commerce. Everybody thought 4 or 5 years ago, in fact, when you were in high school, probably maybe grade school, by the time you got to college, there wouldn't be a book around. Everybody would be using online books or ebooks, and print books would be completely passe. That completely has not happened. Sure, a lot of people still read ebooks, but it converged to some happy median. And it will probably continue at that unless something different happens. This is an old chart. It only goes, and old in this, it only goes to 2017. It doesn't include 2018, 2019. I've had a hard time finding the update chart for this. I don't know why, but Professor Volmert is much better at it than me. So new business areas they're looking at, again, is freight. They're getting into freight business, and they're doing it themselves, but they're also doing an Uberization kind of. I heard an advertisement that said, hey, you're looking for a new business? You could be a delivery guy for e-commerce, code word Amazon. Buy a Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, which is their panel van, and for $33,000, probably cost you another $1,000 or $2,000 to put shelves and racks in it to make it Amazon friendly for all the packages, and maybe it's just floor storage, I don't know. And all of a sudden you're in business and you work as much or as little as you want to. Like I said, they got divorced from FedEx. FedEx is now focusing on all Amazon competitors and wanting to be their transportation company for them. And they're probably phasing out the U.S. Postal Service too, because the U.S. Postal Service was very useful in e-commerce to both FedEx, UPS, and Amazon, because they're the only entity in the country that visits every household, every address, every day, 5 days a week, 6 days a week. So that last mile, the post office has been a tremendous asset for these companies. And in fact, we thought the post office was going out of business or running at a deficit. Maybe you heard this about 10 years ago. And lately you don't hear that at all because of all the e-commerce deliveries that they do. They've turned into a healthcare company. Are they going to become an insurer? They insure all their own employees, like 280,000. 280,000 employees. So 250,000 people they already insure. If they expand that, they could be an insurance company. And what insurance companies are doing is partnering up with pharma. I use MetLife of New York, and if I get my prescriptions through CVS, I get a better deal. Walgreens bought United Healthcare and is in the both health insurance business and marrying it to their pharma business. Amazon bought PillPack, which is an online pharma company, and scared the living daylights out of CVS and Walgreens, who aren't sitting still and letting Walmart come in and eat their lunch. So we'll see what happens. They're selling clothing all of a sudden online, which is crazy. And store brands. Store brands are their own clothing. Store brands of batteries and other staples, and they're always cheaper than the name brands. Life is really hard for a nationally advertised consumer packaged good companies right now. They have to struggle with innovation to beat all of the store brands across the board. And they're moving into brick and mortar. They're the online company. They have Amazon Go stores downtown, which you can read more about it if you want. And they just launched at Christmas time Amazon 4-Star Store, which is, this is the one in Oak Brook, and that's me standing in front of it. Professor Frugia took the picture because we were on our way to do something, and I said, we have to stop by Oakbrook Mall. I just have to see what the store looks like. And it's just a regular store. But what they do is they pick the top selling items, the top whatever consumer good products that Amazon sells, and puts them in the store so you can go and buy them. You can touch them and see them if you like it, and you can buy it in the store. And this was at Christmas time, and the place was packed. There was a long line at the counter for people checking out. I was amazed, but they moved into brick and mortar. And this one kind of says it all in this COVID-19 pandemic era. This was the front page of the Wall Street Journal last week. So if this is March 24th, it was like March 14th or March 13th. And here's an article. Here's one. Amazon to hire 100,000 workers. Why are they hiring 100,000 workers? Because everybody wants to buy things online. No one wants to go out of their house and buy things at the store. So they're hiring 100,000 workers. Meanwhile, the airlines were pressing for aid topping $50 billion because they were about to go under because nobody was flying anywhere. And they could have easily had to file bankruptcy. And a few pages later in the same issue of the journal, there was an article that said the hotels were looking for $150 billion because no one's flying and no one's traveling and no one's staying in hotels. So will this pandemic era accelerate the Amazon effect? I'm going to guess yes. I can't even fathom by how much. All right, so that's the bulk of the presentation. The rest of it is a little bit of fun. In my online ordering experiences. So, I mean, I'm not this old or this bad. And this thing cracked me up because it's obviously an old iPhone text message. It's from Dad, which could be me, and he's texting his son or daughter saying, "You left your phone at home," which I think is hilarious. I'm not that bad. I order stuff online all the time. This is a picture of things I ordered online. The MacBook in which I'm making this video right now, or the desktop Mac, I ordered online. This book, I ordered online. Refills for a Waterman fountain pen. This Rotring 3-in-1 pen I ordered. This is a little stand in which you put your cell phone. And these are little clip-on reader glasses that I got. So yeah, I am that old because I'm buying clip-on reader glasses. If you're in class with Professor Volmert, he can show you his. And I have some social media savvy, obviously, and Professor Volmert likes to show these pictures. I take them mostly to amuse him in meetings, but also I have grandchildren. I have 5 grandchildren under the age of 5. They think these things are hilarious. And I take pictures of Professor Volmert, too, in a meeting, and then, use the filters on them. So I'm still old school. I'm leery about ordering clothes and shoes unless I know the brand and the fit. I've gotten over that. I bought some Amazon clothes just because they were ridiculously cheap and I want to try the experience. I know you can return them, but I never return anything because it's a pain in the butt to then pack them back up and take them to the post office. I never had ordered groceries. My kids do it all the time, especially baby diapers and bulk items they don't want to carry. I hear it's easy to do, but I'm trying to do it now in this COVID era, and the system is kind of overwhelmed because they don't have enough people. Basically, they have the wrong mix of people in the local stores. So for curbside pickup and all that, there's a lag of 3 or 4 days. I placed an order today with Sunset Foods. I can't pick it up for a week because they have 80 orders a day. It's kind of insane, but that will balance out over time as well. One thing I was amazed by, I was this Light in the Box company. This was, I think 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that. and I saw some cool shirts on Facebook. They reminded me of my kind of like the the days when I thought I was a hippie, and I spelt days wrong, but it's on purpose actually. I thought I would wear them to class and get some laughs. They were cheap. They were $13.40, so I ordered them. And I ordered it in blue and white, and they're linen, 3/4 sleeves, and you can see men's daily simple chino soie shirt, sold round neck, 3/4 sleeve length linen. And I ordered them, and I ordered double XL, which seemed to be the right size. So they let me know the order shipped. And it was impressive. It was direct from China, and it only took 10 days. I mean, that's a long time for an online order. We're expecting everything to be instantaneous, but when I can buy things for $13.50 basically, that would probably cost me 2 or 3 times that much here. It makes a lot of sense. So here's the tracking of the product. It started obviously in China until it got to the border, and then it got accepted in China, and then they prepared to ship it from the port. It all became English and arrived at my house, and everything was perfect except a couple things. They screwed up. I got cotton woven dress woman, cotton woven dress shirt. They were the right shirts in the colors I wanted, but they were both for women. And I said, well, maybe that XXL still fits me. No way. It did not. So I wrote them a letter, and they told me how I could send it back. And it was like way too much trouble. So I gave them to my sisters, who it fits them really baggy, and they actually love it. Just last week, here's a link you can look at from NPR that's talking about the mystery behind international shipping. There was a thing that if I put a stamp, just an international postage stamp, it costs more than a good $1.50 or $2 or $3 or whatever it is to ship something from here, an envelope from here to China. But there's been a longstanding rule that says your freight, if you ship it by the post office, the U.S. Post Office delivers it to China, and China delivers it out of courtesy. They get no money. The U.S. Post Office gets all the money, and vice versa. So there's this courtesy thing. And right now, shipping is ridiculously low for items between China and the U.S. So they will eventually close this gap. But that's why some of these products are so cheap to buy from China direct to the U.S. But if we look at it, here's, traditional brick and mortar. It's manufactured in China. There's some pre-shipping arrangement on the Chinese side. It comes by water or air. It goes by transit in the U.S. to the distribution center of the retailer. Then it finally gets to the store. The drop ship model has all the same parts, except instead of going to the DC, it goes directly from the U.S. It's shipped directly to the store in the right amounts. So you've disintermediated, you've eliminated that middleman. Classical online, it also eliminates the end retailer, which says basically it goes to Amazon warehouse, and then it ships directly to the consumer. And this new online, if this thing with China ever takes off and works, and they can even take more time out of the system, should be the lowest cost because it goes directly from China to the consumer and misses all warehousing and store, retail placement in the U.S. So it's kind of crazy. So Amazon Pantry, there's a YouTube you can watch on that. It's old. You can probably find newer ones. My experience with Pantry, I ordered $72.82 worth of stuff, and I ordered 14 items, some of them multiple quantities. I ordered some toothpaste. I ordered some soup, and it was delivered really in a couple days. It was really cool. It was ordered on the 13th, and on the 16th, I had this big heavy box of iced tea, peanut butter, jelly, soups, toothpaste. But then my wife thought the prices were very good, and she knows. I checked one product online, Progresso split pea with ham soup, 19 ounce. Got the Walmart price. Looked at Walmart and Jet.com. They were both the same company, because not some company, the same company, because that was just when Walmart had bought them. And Jet.com is being used to accelerate Walmart's foray into e-commerce. But if you look at it on Walmart, it's $1.88. At Target, it's $1.99. And on Jet.com, it was $3.14 for the same thing. So you still have to shop around. Don't count on it just because it's online means it's cheaper. So lastly, that's pretty much all I have to say. There's some other videos here which you can look at. This is curbside pickup at Walmart. This is how Alibaba works, to get into the clothing business. And this is the e-commerce saving the retail area. So as I say, this is constantly in flux. These videos all need to be updated, but I think you have more than enough to give you a feel for what's happening in marketing channels and supply chain in terms of the retail marketplace. So thank you very much, and hope to see you in another class.